What happened to She-Hulk? I mean, this is a topic that comes up on social media a lot. A lot of people like to bag on the current She-Hulk's appearance. When you read, by the way, when you listen to this, maybe things have changed. You know, things change in comics all the time. So we're talking about current kind of hulky She-Hulk that's been running in the Avengers and other things. What happened? I mean, I've done. Let's talk about She-Hulk. Hey, this is Perch, and that was a rambling entrance. Talking about She-Hulk, the character, it's an interesting one because like there's a couple topics that just come up and up and up and up again on social media, and She-Hulk is one of them. There's always an interest, there's always a dialogue about She-Hulk, and what's interesting is rarely does the argument go two ways, meaning I would say 95% of the comments are, I hate this new She-Hulk. I don't like this. I long for the old She-Hulk. And somebody will post a picture of She-Hulk like in the most revealing costume possible. And then somebody invariably, there will be one guy, there's like, this is the other 5%, who will run in and go, I think the current She-Hulk is great. You're just a bunch of sexist misogynists that want to go back to eye candy. And then, the response will be more pictures of eye candy. So it's not the best argument that goes on there. But the bigger question, the question I want to get into is why, there's clearly a lot of fan passion around She-Hulk as a character. And we're getting a Disney Plus series around She-Hulk. And I'm predicting that we will not get, cheesecake John Byrne She-Hulk on Disney Plus, but I'm also predicting we absolutely do not get giant man thing She-Hulk that you have right now in the comics. I think we're going to get somewhere in between. I think we're going to play up the kind of timid or PTSD style behavior of Jennifer Walters. She'll be a lawyer, but there'll be some, maybe the topic that kind of cram the storylines together, where she gets attacked, she's dying, she needs blood transfusion, what have you. She gets some Hulk blood in her, and then it is then I think we'll get kind of powerful, strong She-Hulk, but we're not going to get like this mindless hulking She-Hulk. That's just my guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, spent too much time on that prediction. But She-Hulk is interesting because if you look back historically into her character, there was, her introduction in the 70s and kind of how she came about was always kind of a fun-loving She-Hulk. She was kind of unleashed from being a lawyer and from being kind of tightly wound. And what's curious about that is I think her comic in the 70s was really, I think, pro, not feminist at all, but definitely kind of pro woman, kind of have been, very smart lawyer, but also then gets to cut loose and be She-Hulk and go about and do all that. But it's very much an empowering book. Again, I wouldn't call it a feminist book, but I would call it an empowering book, the original book. And then we saw She-Hulk in the Avengers, and she was introduced kind of in a weird way. The writers sometimes would write her as being, super cocky, and sometimes a little bit, horny all the time. And then just there's kind of a weird. She-Hulk was written still as that fun-loving She-Hulk, but there was an interesting dynamic they were doing with Hawkeye at the time, and kind of the two didn't like each other, and then she was kind of a little gruff, but it was still kind of this fun-loving She-Hulk. And then we got She-Hulk, and I'm skipping big eras. I know somebody's going to come in the comments like, well, what about? No, I'm kind of just glossing over some areas. So then we got John Byrne, Fantastic Four She-Hulk, and in my mind, this was where the character just was wonderfully elevated. And you've seen other writers since then, both in the Avengers and Matt Fraction's FF, and there's been different attempts to kind of recapture this magic of the John Byrne She-Hulk. But to explain a little bit why it was so amazing is Byrne made the She-Hulk a really a three-dimensional character, where she was sarcastic at times and she was confident, but then there was a storyline with the Psycho Man where he kind of broke her as a person. Is an amazing like devastating scene because it went completely against all of She-Hulk's kind of behavior and background, and so you had a lot of little subplots. You had kind of the fact that she was both in the Fantastic Four and always felt like she was at the fourth wheel, so to speak, until Ben came back, you just had a lot of really intricate stuff with her. And then John Byrne spun her out into her solo series, and that got to be that was Deadpool before it was Deadpool. A lot of fourth wall breaking, a lot of pretty cool stuff. John Byrne was introducing some of the crazier villains in the Marvel universe. It always felt like John Byrne was having a lot of fun with that character, and he left the title and he came back. But that was She-Hulk, kind of definitely more leaned into the cheesecake aspect of it, definitely a little bit more tongue in cheek, but also you had the feeling. I mean, at the time when the John Byrne She-Hulk issue was coming out, you had the feeling like She-Hulk was one of Marvel's bigger books. That it was one of their top level titles. It wasn't at the Captain America or the Iron Man era level, but it was the solid second wave. Even when Byrne was doing Namor as a series, that was an attempt to kind of get another kind of strong second wave book. But She-Hulk worked, and it went for a long time. I mean, if you compare to a lot of the series of today, I do not recall, and again, I'm driving, so I shouldn't look it up, but She-Hulk, the solo series, went on for quite a while. And then she got lost in some of the other books and other things. I always felt like, interestingly enough, Bendis, who does pretty good things with female characters often, or at least tries to provide some depth to them, he promptly took She-Hulk in I don't know, it felt like he never liked the character or something, because he made her kind of rage Hulk out and disassembled, and then he would kind of have her show up from time to time, but almost like a joke. I mean, it was like it just had the feeling like he didn't like the character. And then at the very end, to cap it off, he did Civil War II, where he basically put her into a coma thanks to Thanos, and it felt like a lot of disrespect to She-Hulk. But in that process, before all this, we got some more. We got Charles Soule, I believe, She-Hulk issue run, which was it went a few places. And then we had, I think, I may be wrong with the names. Again, not here to look it up. But we had her more lawyer friendly run that they did, which had Star Fox and a bunch of other characters in it. Greg Horn covers, as I recall, really nice there. And then we had the Civil War II incident, and then we had the PTSD She-Hulk. She just is angry all the time. She's got the gray Hulk, and then we made her like super hulking Hulk, and that's the Hulk that we have kind of in the Avengers, a super kind of angry Hulk character. But what's weird about how Jason Aaron writes her is that in her head, she's still talking like Jennifer Walters, sane, kind of all the rest. But the outward appearance, she's talking. She doesn't just look hulkish, but she's talking kind of like a brute, like, Hulk wants sex. And then inside, like, her thought bubble's like, yeah, I sure am going to have some fun with Thor tonight. And I got to remember to take the casserole out of the oven. And then we just kind of like, these kinds of thoughts. And the outside's like, me horny. And it's very weird. I mean, I'll just say as a comic fan, the whole thing seems severely off-putting. And I don't know if it's just this back and forth. It's not just the Hulk form; it's the way she's written. It's very, very strange, and I think not good for the character. I mean, I haven't seen anyone who's really put up what I would call a credible argument for this version of the character. I've seen lots of people who get into arguments and say, male pigs who want her back in a bikini. You guys, I think it's great. But nobody's ever explained why it's great. I'm sure somewhere somebody has, and I'd be curious to read it. I actually would like to hear the other side. For me, it's a terrible run of the character, but for others, I mean, who are the people who like it? Where are you? Tell me why you like it. I'm here to listen. I'm not here to make fun of you. I'm curious because in the grand scheme of things, and I'll wrap this video up, She-Hulk had moments where she was one of the top Marvel characters. She was one of the big heroes, I think, in the book. She was somebody who could draw sales. Again, not huge sales, but certainly respectable, don't get canceled sales. And as Marvel has attempted to find a female audience, they're trying a lot of solo books that do not achieve anywhere close to the numbers that She-Hulk made. Now, granted, I will say at this point, She-Hulk as a book, as a comic, was not made for women. It was clearly with the cheesecake stuff and the breaking the fourth wall. It was made, on one hand, it was made for everyone, but on the other hand, it did lean in more to a male audience. So it's a general statement. Doesn't mean that women didn't enjoy the title. Lots of women enjoyed that title for sure. But when your storyline is like, She-Hulk has lost her top and she can't find it, and John Byrne's having her do jump ropes on the cover to boost sales. I mean, they're doing a joke for everyone, but that's going to lean more male. I think that's fair to say, and I don't think anyone would argue with that. But you know, it was a title that did well. And now that title doesn't exist anymore, and the writing of the character and steering of the character has gone completely away from that. And you can't say, well, that character, that style of writing no longer appeals to this audience, because sure as hell, we got Deadpool and Harley Quinn both out using that style like crazy. So it's still definitely a viable style. And but it's curious to me that nobody thinks that going back and having that version of She-Hulk. I mean, good Lord, as much as John Byrne loved that character, although he may be out of that now, why wouldn't you do Marvel Black Label or whatever and have John Byrne come in and it's like, hey, do 12 issues of She-Hulk for us? It would sell. I mean, you would make your money back and then some. Why not? Anyway, wrapping this up, what do you think? Leave me some comments below. Do you love the current version of She-Hulk? Again, I'm not here to mock you. I would like to hear why you like it and what you like about it. That would be cool. Like, subscribe if you don't mind. Happy to have those. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch. Give me ideas, things you want me to talk about. Thanks for listening.